What's up, everybody? Well, I got another Steam Deck OLED gameplay video for you guys today, and today we're going to check out some Silent Hill 2. Now, I honestly don't believe this game is probably going to run very good on this system. Most AAA games that come out do not run too good on this thing anymore. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. I mean, hell, even stuff like my ASUS GFlops Advantage is starting to struggle with some of those new games that are coming out. Pretty much any Unreal Engine 5 game, forget about it. But I still wanted to try it out just for fun. I looked it up ahead of time. It doesn't look like it has Denuvo or anything. Otherwise, I would have started on the ASUS GFlops Advantage. But I guess we'll see if I get owned in the face. It actually did have it, but everyone claims it doesn't. So I guess we'll find out. But in any case, let's stop blabbing, get this thing hooked up to the capture computer, and let's go see A, if it will even run. It might not even run. It might just crash or fail to launch or something like that. And then B, if it does run, we'll see how well. I mean, judging by most AAA titles, I'm probably gonna have to turn everything down to low and use FSR just, to get close to playable FPS. Like 20, 25 FPS. That's my guess, but maybe I'll be wrong. But let's not waste any more time. Let's go find out.
All right, so here's the settings we're gonna try on the Steam Deck. At least first, no FSR or anything. And then I think we'll try like FSR, and heck, we might even try all the upscalers, including the built-in FSR. If it's so willing to work, sometimes games it just doesn't turn on. Anyway though, let's go hop in the game and see if this is even remotely playable. Well, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go with no. This does not seem very playable to me, at least personally. And this is just in the very beginning, like right after you get done with the first intro movie. This is where you end up. So I mean, if it can't handle it here, it's probably not gonna do well later. Because I have a feeling this is probably one of the easier places to run. I'm definitely gonna go once I get to the city area. We'll make more videos. Unless people don't want me to. But I feel like some people want to see that, so I will probably do that. But there's a couple other games coming out soon that I gotta do videos for, so. I'm sure you guys have noticed, but there's like a weird trail where this guy goes. Oh, I can moonwalk. It's like a smooth criminal. Anyway. Alright though, let's go move on. Well, now I wanted to try with this Steam Deck's built-in FSR, but in all honesty, it seems to have made things worse. That's kind of interesting. It does that sometimes. Alright though, I think that's more than enough to see that this is not very great. So let's move on to the next upscaler. Now let's try TSR. We'll just do low, since this thing is already having trouble. And then keeping everything else on low. I wished it would let me show you guys the quality settings, but it's locked out. I can't click on it. A lot of games do that to me lately. But in any case, that's the bottom. Let's go see how this does. So here's the TSR upscaling. Definitely doesn't seem to drop the frames as much as the built-in FSR does. I don't even know what version of FSR it is. I've heard it's in between 2 and 3. It's some Frankenstein, Steam's own version of it. But yeah, still doesn't get rid of that weird artifacting effect around. Well, not even artifact, it was a weird trails of his body going around. And it makes everything really soft too. If I remember correctly, this is definitely the worst of all the upscalers, as far as looks go. I mean, it's still doing better FPS-wise than the built-in FSR, but the built-in FSR definitely looks better than this, at least in my opinion, unless I'm going crazy. But to me, it just looks like Kind of like, what do you call it? Like, what was that one thing? Oh, yeah. The hell? Okay, never mind. I thought there was a giant-ass spider moving in there. But anyway, DLSS, like 1.0 is kind of like this. Where it was just like, holy shit. It didn't look quite as bad. But I remember it looking like weird, and it had like, it looked like somebody smeared Vaseline all over my screen. And then I think it had these weird trail problems too. But it seems to be a thing with the game. The game just seems to do this. Anyway, let us move along. Now we're going to try FSR 1.0, which probably won't look great, but it'll hopefully at least do better than the Steam Decks in performance. But it might not look as good. But we shall see. But anyway, let's get into the game. So, here we go with FSR 1.0. No, yeah, it definitely does not look great. I'd say it looks slightly less soft than the TSR did. But I don't know. I still think the Steam Deck's one, even though it didn't give us like good FPS, I think it still looked the best out of all of them. Though all of them looked kind of terrible, all blown up like this, to be honest. But if you're playing on the screen itself, it's not as big of a deal. Alright, though. Let's go move along. Well, now for just a little bit of camera recorded gameplay. Now, unfortunately, we're still right back where we were. But, I mean, I use a capture card, so it's not like it should lose any FPS or anything by doing that. Unless I ran it at a higher resolution or something like that, then of course that would make sense. But yeah, this is not exactly what I would call a playable experience. I know we just kind of walk around the whole time. But for me, this is a little too low FPS. But other people can make their own informed decision. But I still don't think this is the hardest place to run either. Very rarely do they give you the hardest place to run right in the beginning of the game, you know? So I don't know, maybe they can come out with some like Steam Deck settings or something for this game, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I have a feeling it's probably not going to run good on this thing. Like, the best we could hope for is eventually, like, maybe getting 30-ish average with lots of drops. So that's how you turn around real quick. Alright, so that's sprinting. It's definitely a VRAM hog. We're at 5.7 gigs, and we're at like the lowest settings possible at 720p. With FSR on, so we're even lower than 720p. And that GPU is working as hard as possible. It's sitting there at like 1600 megahertz, like, kill me. Anyway, though, obviously I'd play more if the game was running halfway decently, but when a game gets this low FPS, it's really not very fun to play. But I still wanted to get a little gameplay for those who are interested. But I think it's about time for us to go wrap this video on up.
Well, alright guys, that's a wrap for Silent Hill 2 on the Steam Deck OLED, and just like I thought at the beginning, this game is just a little bit too much for the system, I think. Like, no matter what, we can't even average 30 FPS. I tried all the different upscalers, even the built-in. Built-in actually does worse. The worst. That actually seems to happen every time I try it. I think I kind of understand why almost no one uses the built-in FSR on the Steam Deck. Although I will say it probably looked the best out of all of the different solutions for upscaling. Although the whole point is to get more FPS, so I don't really care if it looks better, if it gives me worse FPS than stock, you know? Just give me native resolution at that point. But who knows? Maybe they'll come out with some updates and we can make it borderline playable. Or they'll come out like Cyberpunk with its own Steam Deck settings. But wouldn't hold my breath for something like that. But still, if there's ever updates where they might have made it easier to run, which generally doesn't happen very often, I'll come back and give it another shot. But at least for now, I just don't think this thing's powerful enough to handle it. The Ally and the Firebat Mini PC probably won't do much better either. But hey, we're gonna try those out next. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video though, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out, guys.